So I've got one of those storage shelters, and I'm out at the lake just to make sure that it's gonna be okay under the snow load, because that was a concern of mine. Turns out the snow is fine, but it can't really support a tree.
This happened last winter, and I remember distinctly how bad this felt. Our hearts were in our stomachs because inside we stored our jet ski, and it doesn't have insurance for this kind of damage.
So the first thing we're gonna have to do, obviously, is get rid of this tree, and then I'll show you what's underneath, and we'll see what kind of damage we're looking at. It is super cold today, but we need to do this before the snow falls because I've got to haul some of the stuff that's in here out of here. We don't want it to like sit under a whole bunch of snow. So my friend's gonna come with his big boy saw, and we'll see what we can do.
We're fortunate to have a good friend that's an expert in dealing with stuff like this. Without him, I wouldn't even know where to start with removing a really heavy tree that's resting on our jet ski. The plan is to cut away a lot of the weight on the structure so that we are just left with a piece on the shelter and then pull it off. Climb an adjacent tree so that he could run a rope from the log up through the tree and then down to my vehicle. And we used the car to kind of support the log while he cut the remaining piece off. And then we just drove the car forward a bit to pull the log off. Don't try this kind of stuff at home.
So it was a little dark yesterday to look at the damage, but figured I'd show you today.
At first it looks like the handlebars and steering column took most of the damage, but there are some cracks in the top deck too, so we'll have to take this thing apart and start pricing out parts.
Today I'm gonna take off the broken pieces of the jet ski and attempt to see if it can be fixed.
The hull was one of my biggest concerns because it's really expensive, but it looks alright, and further inspection does show some other broken parts like the steering cable, so it's time to source some parts and cross our fingers that this thing's worth fixing.
I was gonna just replace this like steering column and then plastic weld the cracks here, but then I found a guy selling a whole top for 500 bucks, and that's basically the same price as just a steering column, so that's what I did.
I also got the steering cable in this deal and some other plastic bits. I originally put a cart together of brand new parts from the manufacturer, and this would have cost me over $3,175 if I didn't get this sweet marketplace deal. And that's getting pretty close to what I paid for this thing. It's time to dry fit some parts and test it.
This was stored all winter in my sister's garage, so it's really important. Always be sure to leave a selection of locally handcrafted sparkling water. Once again, this fits perfectly in my Honda F-150. Let's make sure this thing starts. I bought this used a few years ago for 4,800 bucks, and now something like this, even though it's like 6 years old, goes for like 10 grand. So totally worth fixing. The parts were only 500 bucks, maybe 600 with some other little pieces I might have to order. Like, this was cheaper to fix than the cost of insurance.
This experience so far has made us realize a few things. First of all, never trust trees. We're very fortunate that we weren't around when this tree fell, and it could have been much worse.
I'm just waiting on a couple parts, but once those are in, it's ready to hit the water.
Secondly, it's an awful feeling sifting through your broken belongings, and it's so minor compared to what others have had to deal with storms and other drastic events. My heart really goes out to them, because even this was rough. I'm not sure this has taught us anything about having comprehensive insurance. I'm a never buy the warranty guy, and this is kind of strengthening that argument. I guess we were pretty lucky, but I just don't know. Should I up the insurance?